Hey, everybody, welcome to Common Censored. I'm joined by Eleanor Goldfield.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. We got some big stories. Some of them tough to deal with, but sometimes you gotta just confront the truth. You just gotta face it straightforward and drill into it, no matter how tough it is to take. But yeah, so we're gonna just dig down. I mean, you might notice a bit of a theme in today's episode. You might. So to start off, now this part, obviously, most of what we bring you is stuff you haven't heard, non-mainstream media stuff like that. But I'm gonna start off just to couch things in the mainstream media coverage of what is going on. Uh, there are massive fires throughout Maui in Hawaii, and I found it interesting. So here's the NBC, MSNBC updates on what's going down. Live updates they have starting at like 9 a.m. today. It's about 12 to 15 pages of kind of endless updates of what's going on in Maui right now. Fires have just destroyed the island. There's already 55 people dead, but they think there may be 1,000 missing. And if you do a control find on this 15 pages for the word climate, zero. This is the so-called liberal media. These are the ones making up the climate crisis, right? Telling you that it exists when it doesn't. Funny that they don't talk about the thing they so-called created.
But you feel like they would just use the word climate.
Accidentally?
Well, yeah, the climate of the fire, something kind of just in the editorial way of speaking that they'd end up using the word climate, but no.
Nope. They have. Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Sorry.
That's per usual.
People don't understand these little tiny toggles.
You're a tiny toggle.
Wow, this elevated quickly. But okay, so that's the mainstream media. What they're bringing you, and they're not talking about climate crisis. They're just saying fires have ravaged this island.
Which this is an interesting point because, being that I'm a bit of a media literacy nerd, it's not that they're wrong. Fires are destroying the island, have destroyed the island, but you're lying through omission.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is a very important aspect of when we talk about the propagandization or the lack of media literacy. It's that, well, people will say, well, there wasn't anything factually inaccurate. Right. But you're missing a key aspect of why these fires are ravaging the island. It would be like if you were reporting on the fact that somebody was bloodied and beat up, and you were like, oh my gosh, well, here are all of the medical details of this situation, but you neglected to say that anybody beat the shit out of them.
It's kind of like how a lot of murders done by police, are written down and actually go down in the books as, say, a heart attack or asphyxiation. Well, why did he asphyxiate? Was it because there was a roided out nutbag strangling him for 3 minutes? Oh, it was.
You'll also see things like a police-involved shooting. Oh, was he involved? How was he involved?
Yeah.
Like, just fucking say that he murdered involved.
Yeah.
Like, passively.
In Palestine, bullets flew.
Yeah.
By who?
Yeah, literally, there was one headline. Alan McLeod shared it. Follow him on social media because he has great little snippets. When it was a Palestinian woman dies from bullet wounds. From what? A gun?
They fell.
Maybe that was held by a fucking IDF soldier.
It's actually a climate thing. The bullets have started falling from the clouds because the density of. Okay, I'm done. All right. So not only is it obviously climate crisis, I mean, that's drying things out. It is causing these wildfires, which, yes, wildfires are natural, but they're not naturally this large. They don't naturally spread this quickly. Why is that happening? Well, a lot of it has to do with the drying out of these areas due to elevated temperatures. But that's not the only thing that is that it's kind of that combined with some other things, which you found this clip. I figured we'd play, it's like the first 40 seconds or so from Democracy Now!
the change in the vegetation surrounding the community in Lahaina, as well as the community upcountry Maui, which was experiencing similar fires which are still burning right now. And these are changes that have affected most of the island in the state, in the sense that these change in land use over the past couple decades, the decline in agricultural production has really resulted in the dramatic expansion of these non-native tropical grasses. And this really creates this vulnerability that we're seeing right now, and the really explosive growth in fire that we saw over the past couple of days.
So these non-native species, but of course they have to be dried out. If they were moist and rained on, they wouldn't be
moist.
Yeah.
Don't use that word.
When you're looking at him, was that the problem? Or with the tropical?
No, I just don't
tropical
like
skirt
that
on?
word. For some people, it's pussy. They don't like that word. For me, it's moist. I
Okay.
just don't like. My friend has a problem with the word discharge. Like whatever.
Oh no, I had a friend in high school where she could not stand the word nipple. And if you said nipple around her, she would lose
Really?
her mind.
It's such a cute word.
What about a moist nipple?
Shut up. Just stop with moist. Like it's just bleh. Okay. Say like well lubricated or something.
Very well lubricated nipple. Boy, this sounds like a hot romantic evening. All right.
Well, you don't want a dry nipple, do you?
No, you might want a moist one.
No, you don't. Lee, shut up. God.
All right, that was very Napoleon Dynamite right there.
I never saw that movie.
All right.
I heard it was really dumb. But anyway, that's not the point. So
If that were our point and the title of our show, that'd be interesting. Napoleon Dynamite was lame. Go ahead.
So basically, these are colonial changes to these islands, right? They are an eradication of native species, which this is a shocker. Native species, because as Lee pointed out, wildfires have historically been part of ecosystems. Native species evolved to be a part of that ecosystem so they can act as natural barriers so that wildfires, don't spread across whole fucking islands. And they also, the important thing is that they also create these ecosystems that keep things well lubricated. Thank you.
What's another word for it? Never mind.
Fuck yourself. That's another word for it.
Things are just elevating really at an uncomfortable level. I feel like this is a hostile work environment.
It is.
Okay.
So
OSHA.
So I'm also keeping Lee in a basement, so that there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And so a lot of these lands have been also moved to make room for tourism, which, as folks might be aware, I've actually never been to Hawaii, but just thinking about how other places that have been ruined for tourism, it's just like wide expanses of bullshit. Whether that be shopping or whether that be, hey, we want to make sure all of the crops look like Versailles and everything's all like organized and in perfect fucking rows. And God forbid you ever see an insect. And so it
not so much jungle.
Right. It completely fucking decimates that area so that when there is a wildfire, all you have is a free path for that fire to decimate these regions. And that's not even talking about the climate change aspect, because of course that is part of it, the atmospheric effects that because of climate change that have allowed this fire to also spread as far. But these things combined, right? It's not just climate chaos. It is the chaos of colonialism and the chaos of capitalism that have decimated these places and made them into prime, like the perfect storm for these fires to rage.
And of course, the Biden administration and the others are doing essentially nothing. They'll step out and give a nice little speech about how we need to care about those in Maui, but they're not actually going to. And I'm going to get to this more in a second. But I thought we'd also
You
pause.
mean Biden's not flying over there with a bucket of water right now?
Even if he did, that actually is something the Democrats would do. They'd be like, we have this bucket of water. And then they just dump it out and then go back to fucking proving more fossil fuel.
At least Trump threw paper towels at people.
That's true. He did go down to Puerto Rico and my mother's in a tree. Paper towels. All right. Oh, so how to donate to Mao? You found this this
There were a couple of links. Did I show you? I sent you a couple, right?
this and this.
No.
Well,
God
I got one at least.
Okay. Well,
Ah,
God damn it, Lee. That's your subconscious trying to block my face. Okay. Well, I will look at it real quick and tell people. Okay, so this one that you're showing on the screen right now. Where'd it go?
Right there.
Okay. It's the Hawaii People's Fund, which I'm sorry to laugh. It's Seinfeld's fault, really. I can't help but hear human fund, but that's not what it is. It's a legit
for
fund.
those who watched or didn't watch Seinfeld, George created something called the Human Fund, so he can pretend to donate as a gift for people, and it didn't actually exist. But yes, it does sound a little like Human Fund.
But this is actually a legit organization that will be. You can go to the link so I can see what the hell I'm talking about over here. Thank you. So this organization is supporting frontline and grassroots folks who are mobilizing to help those who have been affected by the fires. And they're working in tandem with foundations and individual donors. And they are dedicated to moving crucial financial support to those directly impacted by the wildfires. So this is a good one. Another one that...
Sorry, do we know how to tell people to find this? It's called Hawaii
People's Fund. So I assume if you just
People's Fund on Instagram. Okay.
If you use the Google.
People's is plural. It is the people's.
It's hawaiipeoplesfund.org.
People's is fund.
Yeah. And yeah, they've also done this organization has also done rad work on fighting the military industrial complex. So that's good. And the other ones that have been shared are the Maui Mutual Aid Fund. This was shared by Decolonize Myself on Instagram. And you can check that out at bit.ly/Maui Mutual Aid. And mutual aid is spelled AIDE. Mutual aid funds in general are great places to go to give support, because mutual aid is always grassroots organizations. So if you see that somebody is organizing mutual aid, that is a great place to donate or send support. Sometimes they'll be doing drives where they want to collect things that are not just money, like non-perishables or clothes or what have you. So check that out, Maui Mutual Aid Fund. And there's, yes, that's it. Sorry.
No worries. So, by the way, for those of you thinking you had it with climate crisis and you don't want to hear about it, we got some awesome some rad activists we're going to highlight in a minute to uplift your climate crisis spirits. And also, if you'll humor me, I'd like to talk a bit about what people can do and why this is an exciting time. We could be heroes and save the world. I mean, imagine if we lived in a time where there was no opportunity to save the world. It was just everything was fine, and there's nothing to save. Be kind of lame, right? No,
I like your spin.
Am I the only one? Okay, so what I wanted to highlight is while this is going on, and of course Maui is just one of dozens of climate catastrophes that are going on around the world. All of these things, yes, they existed before. Fires existed, hurricanes existed. They're all ramping up. They're going faster. They're more powerful. The winds, which also have been very important in spreading the fire in Maui, is also, the winds are stronger in climate crisis. So while all that's going on, Biden is busy, leasing places to big oil, such as opening the Gulf of Mexico to oil drilling and
the Arctic.
And I wanted to highlight this article, which is actually wrong, but it's wrong in an interesting way.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because have I piqued your interest?
You have.
Okay, so. This is from antiwar.com, which antiwar.com does a lot of great work, and they're definitely anti-war, which not many places are. Why is that funny?
But most places called antiwar.com are usually anti-war.
Or they're like I don't know, Democrats, and they're like, we're anti-war, except when all of the times. Anyway, they're definitely anti-war. They're definitely anti-imperialist. It just so happens that this article doesn't understand something very important. And I think we clarifying that would also go to show what the fuck Biden's doing right now. So it says Biden's push for a bizarre bad deal with Saudi Arabia continues. And they talk about this deal he's pushing with Saudi Arabia, and he seems frantic to get it done. And the Financial Times and the Wall Street Journal both published big stories about it today. This is yesterday, 2 days ago. The reports agree that on the general outline of the deal that the administration has in mind. As expected, it would involve significant U.S. commitments to the Saudis in security guarantees and support for their nuclear program. In exchange, the Saudis are supposed to commit to limiting their relationship with China. Remember that part. But it is hard to see how the U.S. could enforce that part. In theory, there would also be Israeli concessions to Palestinians, right? But since we know,
In theory.
right? But since we know that this part is never happening, I'm not sure why anyone is bothering to mention it. It looks very much like the horrible deal that many of us have been expecting and criticizing for several months is being pushed. And he goes on to be like, basically saying, I don't understand why the Biden administration is so desperate to get this done. It's unenforceable. Is it just because they don't really like seeing Saudi Arabia work with China? And what they don't say, what they clearly don't understand is there is a very obvious reason as to why Biden and the administration, the U.S. government are frantic to get this deal done. Because the petrodollar, the entire power of the U.S. empire is rests on top of the petrodollar, which, yes, we're also the world's reserve currency. But why are we the reserve currency? Because of the petrodollar. So petrodollar has half of the word has something in it. Petroleum, oil. Oil has to keep running. It has to keep running in a big way, and it has to keep running basically from Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has to keep paying for it and selling it in dollars. That is all of the U.S. power rests on top of that. We can print all the money we want because of that. And recently, Saudi Arabia has been showing that they're hedging away from this. They have been showing that they're willing to stand up to the United States. They're showing that they're working with China, that they've even started to do oil deals with China in yuan and not in dollars.
Trade in dollars has decreased significantly. And yes, people will still be trading in dollars. Like, it's not going to end tomorrow. Even with the BRICS summit coming up, we're not going to see, the whole world just extract itself from trading in the dollar. But this is a big deal, what's been happening so far, and the sort of the multipolar world that is emerging from the decline of the U.S. empire. And the U.S. does not want that to happen, but kind of can't fucking do anything about it, because the only like Chris Hedges said that the only language that the U.S. empire knows how to speak in is violence. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing that you can't beat someone out of your own decline. Like, it's just happening. And the more that the U.S. tries to force, half of our military budget is just about China. Like, the more that the US tries to force countries like China or Russia to stay down, Russia is like the most sanctioned country in the world right now and is really just doing fine.
I think the ruble is stronger than it was before.
Yeah. The US
war.
Can't violently suppress these countries anymore. And the suppression is not only not hurting these nations the way they want it to, but it's actually hurting the U.S. more. So these sanctions that the U.S. has against China, for instance, hurts our economy a lot.
Well, yes, but long term, they're trying, like you're saying, they're trying to secure global hegemony, U.S. ownership of the world, by forcing these countries down to not do BRICS, to not have other currencies become powerful. And so long term, it actually will harm our economy, but the U.S. empire needs to decrease. We need degrowth. We need to not own the world, because look what we've fucking done to it. And so I wanted to point out that this is why the Biden administration, the U.S. government, let's face it, Biden's not making these decisions. So the fucking
Dude, I don't even think he decides what to wear.
the 50-year-olds he's surrounded with, they make these decisions, and they are frantic to get Saudi Arabia to stop cooperating with China. And that is what this deal is about. And so, just to conclude here, antiwar.com writes, it's a high-risk, no-reward proposition that sets Biden up for a bruising fight. No reward. That in the view of the U.S. government, the U.S. empire, this is the ultimate reward, or to stop the dwindling of the petrodollar. And what does this have to do with climate crisis? Obviously, the climate crisis is going to run unfettered, unstopped, unhinged, unless the petrodollar, the thing with petro in the name, stops ruling the world. That has to fucking happen for us to have a sustainable world. And no one is really talking about it in these terms. It's unbelievable how little this gets talked about. Even antiwar.com doesn't get it, apparently. So,
well, if you're watching this antiwar.com, please. I know a guy who would be
I know a guy
to share some insight into the petrodollar.
who would be happy to yell at you for a little while. All right, shall we get to some rad activists?
Yes, but before we do, I just wanted to let folks know that on this topic of the decline of U.S. empire and the rise of a more multipolar world, there's a great show that will be up on projectcensored.org either this weekend or early next week that is with Danny Haifong, who has some great commentary about China and about what's happening there with the U.S. really shooting itself in the foot. And I also talked to Dr. Ganaka Lagoke about what's happening in...
Wow, you nailed that. That was great.
Thank you.
I'm just really impressed.
Thank you. About what's happening in Western Africa, particularly in Niger. So I was saying Niger, but he says Niger, I think because Niger is more how the French say it. And right now, fuck France is very popular in that part of Africa because they are finally throwing off the colonial rule of France, which is still happening.
I've never heard like a person informed on Africa say Niger.
Yeah, apparently it's both.
It's getting into vogue or something.
Well, because I think Niger is the French way to say it, and French colonialism is not in right now.
Yeah,
which is good. So those two interviews will be up on projectcensored.org. So please do check for that, and you can also sign up for the email list.
Also, Project Censored is on all your podcast platforms.
Yes.
So if you're sitting in the car looking for something to listen to, check out Project Censored. Also, the Lee Camp Show and Common Censored. Okay. Let's highlight some rad activists. Speaking of oil, speaking of pipelines, speaking of how we've got to get off fossil fuels to have a chance to have a sustainable planet, but we live in the right now, and you can feel the energy of the human power swirling, ready to fucking fight this shit. Right?
Nice. I like it.
I'm working on it. It's something I'm working.
Can somebody clip that?
I'm workshopping it.
Make it into a little clip.
Oh,
put it up.
I have to tell a real quick story about clipping me yelling about climate change. Back when I was on the Young Turks, because they didn't understand that I was a real leftist and that it would make them look bad, they used to have me on every once in a while. And so I was on one time, but it was increasingly annoying me how they'd have me sitting there talking about fucking nonsense. This is back when Romney was a story, all right? So that's how long ago. This is a while ago. So Romney was, running for president or something, and they're talking about fucking how he treats his dog or whatever the goddamn shit is. And it was some dumb story. And so Jank asked me what I think about this. Like I said, a long time ago. Jank asked me what I think about it. And I was like, what are we talking about? The world's on fire. We're talking about Romney's dog. This is insanity. And then he goes, I agree with you. So Romney's dog, and they go back to Romney's dog. What they did though, then, and I found this out like 2 years later, a year later or something, is they had a like trailer for the Young Turks as to how awesome Young Turks is. And it just shows them and a bunch of guests and stuff. And one of the things in the trailer was me going, the world's on fire. What are we talking about? So literally me mocking them was put in their trailer as if they were showing, look how awesome we are. So interesting.
Dude, do you have like a resume of just the shows that you've taken a dump on? Like Fox News and TYT? Like,
Well, here's
do
the
you
thing,
have a resume of those?
at
Because I
the-
would love to see that. Can somebody make a clip of that? Like, instead of a blooper reel, it's like Timesley has shit on media.
Shit on media while on their shows. So in that one, I was friendly enough with them, and they were talking about enough of the stuff I cared about that it wasn't like I wanted to say all your shit is garbage. And this was also back when they were slightly more left wing, but so
Yeah, no, I'm not
I
saying that
didn't
it
say
wasn't unwarranted.
yeah, I didn't. My point is that clip, I'm not like turn this shit off like I did on Fox News. That was a little different, but anyway.
But you were, I think that was a good comment to make.
Oh no, thank you. But I'm trying to think. So it's that one. Well, so I didn't shit on the network, but I was on MSNBC one time because Dylan Ratigan was about to be fired and he knew it, and so he was swinging for the fences. So he had me on, and I just trashed both candidates, which was the reason he was getting. He wasn't fired. He left, but they basically forced his hand. They said endorse Obama or we'll leave, and so he was leaving. So yeah, kind of shat on them. Anyway, moving on.
I like it.
I don't know how we got off on that tangent. But... All right, I want to show this clip that you found.
I like how I'm getting props for finding clips.
Although I will say this is one I got to give myself a little credit. I had seen, so that counts for something. Well, do you want to give? Well, I know we've talked about it a lot, but do you want to give a quick tutorial on MVP?
Yes, I also have a podcast on Project Censored with someone with who's fighting the MVP. So look out for that as well.
By the way, everyone in the chat is still talking about moisture and moist.
Can you stop saying that?
Well, it's that.
You didn't have to point. There's also people talking about all kinds of shit in the chat. You're just taking that. You're picking that particular thing out of the chat.
Sorry.
You asshole. Okay, so the Mountain Valley Pipeline is like a zombie of a fucking pipeline. It was first, the project first came up in 2014, and it was supposed to be done in 2018. It is like
horrific.
Not even 60% done yet.
Would pump insane amounts of crude oil.
No, it's a fracked gas pipeline.
Sorry, natural gas.
We don't like the term natural gas because it sounds too nice.
Yeah, no, I know. They carefully workshop that. No, I've said that before. Don't say natural gas. Say planet. What was it? Planet destroying fluid or something.
Natural gas is what happens when you've had too many beans. This is fracked gas. It is shit that is highly flammable, and they actually do talk like when you look at the plans for a fracked gas pipeline, they have around it the blast zone. So you want to know why? Because literally every fracked gas pipeline is a bomb waiting to go off. And if you even so much as light a match, if there's a small leak, or hell, you could even just be checking your phone, and there's enough of a spark, if there's a slight leak in that pipeline, which you can't see, by the way, that you could fucking explode, and a blast zone around you could just decimate whatever is there. I don't know, schools.
And it happened in Pennsylvania, killed 3 people, and then Chevron, or I think it was Chevron, sent everyone in town a slip for a pizza.
Lee, it wasn't a piece of pizza. It was a whole. It was a
whole
large,
pizza.
I think it was a large pizza.
Whole large pizza.
A large pizza. Okay.
We're sorry. We've been blowing up your town and killing people. Here's a pizza.
I mean, I think that's fair. So the Mountain Valley Pipeline, originally slated to be 300 miles. Now there's what's called the Southgate extension, which would add another, I don't remember exactly how many miles, but would go through several counties in North Carolina, and would include a compressor station, which is a very disgusting aspect of fracked gas pipelines. Oh, guess what? In a predominantly Black neighborhood. And is already decimating large parts of Appalachia, which is a temperate rainforest, by the way. Appalachia is one of the most biodiverse regions in the world, and we don't talk about it that way. They're like, oh, they're just some like fucking hillbillies who live up. No, it is an incredibly biodiverse region with some incredibly fucking rad humans.
Yeah.
And as evidenced in this video, there are some rad people there who are willing to fight incredibly hard to ensure that this does not get done, because as we've covered in previous episodes, the Mountain Valley Pipeline was included in the fucking debt ceiling bill, because that's a thing now.
Like approving it after it had been
Forcing it
stopped.
through.
Forcing it through was included, yeah.
And because of that, there have been legal battles about Mountain Valley Pipeline for years, because they keep fucking breaking their permits. They keep polluting and destroying areas. There are people who don't have any water left because of them. And so they've been in court, and the Fourth Circuit Court had basically put a stop on construction. And then the Supreme Court stepped in and said, actually, fuck y'all, we are going to force this through because it was part of the debt ceiling bill that Congress passed. Holy shitballs. That's insane.
This pipeline will not die.
Right. So now people are there's still battles happening in courts, but a lot of people are realizing, okay, we just have to fucking show up with our bodies and stop it that way. So Appalachians Against Pipelines is the group that has primarily been doing most of the frontline work on fighting this pipeline. And they just did an action a couple of days ago, and that's the video that we're sharing.
Here we go.
We got 8 trespassers.
Stop! You need to stop!
You guys are putting yourselves in danger being out there. Being trespassing.
I love that image so much.
And well done, guys. And something we've highlighted before is, I know that the poo-poobers will go, oh, who cares? They'll be back at it tomorrow. What's it matter? But it actually does matter, because as these things happen and as the numbers of them grow, it causes enough a delay. I mean, they lose millions of dollars for every hour that these construction sites are shut down. And it makes it harder to insure them. It makes it harder for the company to have them to get them running. And sometimes there's been evidence. I mean, there have been moments where they've literally backed out of a pipeline because of all those reasons. They're fighting it in court, fighting it on the ground. Eventually they were like, we're fucking losing too much money. So it does have a massive impact.
Well, and MVP was supposed to be like $3 billion. It's already more than double that. So this is the plan, is to continue to stop work. There was just today, there were a couple of folks who locked down. I haven't had a chance to look and see how that played out, but there are going to be continuous waves of actions happening. And for those who are in the region, unfortunately, I can't make it to this, but if you are in the West Virginia or Virginia area.
Why don't you take your private jet? Don't you have one?
Wait, did you get me one? Was that my birthday present?
I've got a GoFundMe for it right now. Going.
So the Power Coalition, spelled POWHR, the Power Coalition has a Stop MVP weekend of like basically action trainings and information sessions.
Will there be dancing?
Yes, there's music.
Up, music. Boom.
Music,
food, action.
There's also going to be childcare. So if you were thinking of going but have a kid.
Oh my God, they should have the childcare like on the construction site.
Lee, that's
so
terrible.
No, so the machines have to stop because there's fucking children there.
I would not trust them to do that. No, that's not a good idea. Lee is not organizing these actions, by the way.
I never get to organize.
So it's going to be August 26th and 27th at the Sweet Springs Resort in West Virginia. So do check that out if you have the ability, because it's, I mean, yeah.
Cool.
It's going to be rad, I imagine. And yeah, Appalachians Against Pipelines is another one to watch.
So as we continue on this theme of climate crisis, I wanted to bring you what I thought was a pretty good little rundown. I'll be talking about this more next week with a special guest on the show. But they were tweeting about a common question I get asked when I give talks is what let's see, Dr. Aaron, graduate student researching the role of science in climate communications. Okay. But what can I do as an individual? And he says nothing, but then wait, just wait a second. He says, we cannot address the climate crisis as individuals. The crisis is a symptom of a system of social relations, and therefore we must cooperate to collectively change that form of social organization. Luckily for us, humans are good at this. We all exist in thick social networks as groups, communities, societies, cooperation, collaborating, creating, and innovating together. Humans have flourished because we work in collectives and not as individuals. He then talked about how the IPCC, which, by the way, is kind of like a milquetoast, report. Like the IPCC does say we are fucked. We have 2 degrees of warming Celsius. We need to work. We need to get to work immediately. And even that, I've read articles about how that is kind of like a weak version of what we should be saying about this. But anyway, the IPCC report on mitigation is clear that we have high confidence that collective action as part of social or lifestyle movements underpins systems change. And then, of course, Margaret Thatcher said the opposite. You're an individual. Ignore society. It doesn't matter. Just go out for yourself and do nothing else. And too bad she's dead, That's really, I every night I'm like, if only Margaret were here. If only Maggie were here.
Maggie.
Instead, we must recognize that it's only by taking action together. And I think this is an accidental image because he's got nuclear pipes there. I don't think he meant that. But
What do
anyway,
you mean?
well, it's supposed to be about oil, and these are nuclear exhausts.
Oh, it's supposed to be about oil?
I mean, he's talking about fossil fuels and stuff. He's not talking about nuclear at the moment.
Well,
He's talking about fossil fuel industrialists and
he says it
financiers.
as an example, e.g., fossil fuel.
Yeah, but these are nuclear.
No,
They're
I know.
unrelated to what
I know, but that was just an example. And
Anyway.
then the image makes you think, oh, it's also fucking nuclear. I see where he's going with this.
I can't believe you're trying to defend this indefensible image. Hey, the role of the climate concerned activist then is A, to educate others about how we can collectively respond. B, I was about to say two, and
that's
F,
what I do.
to agitate and support others to take collective action. And G, organize groups into larger, more powerful communities pushing for change. So I thought these were great points that, like, yes, the ability to create change is here, but it's cooperative. It's us coming together, fighting, alerting others through this, working as groups. What happened?
Somebody said I thought it was huge trash cans full. Okay, so that image is just not popular.
I mean, it had dollars in it. I got the dollars. Okay, there was the dollar sticking out of it, but it was nuclear smokestacks.
They're also they're
Steam
they're-
stacks.
Well, they could also be for coal plants. Somebody is pointing out, which is true. Those look like the cooling towers I saw
No,
in Germany.
These are absolutely nuclear.
Okay, I'm just
100%.
I'm just saying it could be either.
No,
Either.
nope.
Okay.
And either cannot be either. Did
Do
I
you
blow
think-
your mind on that?
Do you say either or either? Have we already talked about this?
I generally say either, but sometimes I switch it up. Like if I'm feeling saucy, if I'm feeling spicy.
I feel like either is better
Better how?
because it just sounds better.
Listen, either is either. It's not either. Okay, you can't have your choice of either or either. Okay, either
Mhm.
pick or get out of the show.
Got that? Okay. So yeah, and I really like this too because it gets away from the fucking idea that, oh, if we just get enough reusable bags, if I just eat less meat, or if I get a Prius, I guess it's not a Prius, it's a fucking
If we
Tesla
get rid of
these days.
plastic straws, will fix it.
Right.
We'll have it done.
And it's like
Done.
that's not you can get all of the get rid of all the plastic straws and there will still be 100 companies responsible for 70% of global emissions, and the US military will still be the largest emitter of greenhouse gas emissions, equal to 140 countries.
Oh, I have a fun one on that coming up. You're going to love this.
Oh.
But it's a great point also. Yeah, those things don't change as we go, oh, I'm going to save more plastic bags. By the way, I do try and avoid using plastic bags. So it's
You
not
should see him if somebody tries to give him a plastic bag at like a restaurant or at a store. Lee, first
Dude.
of all, Lee starts crying, and then
I have a little breakdown.
he breaks
But
out his
what-
travel soapbox and stands, pushes it out. And
Travel soapbox. It's a little, it folds out.
it folds out.
It's it's
No.
something to stand on. So I'd be like, here.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you see me, once you see me pull that out of the little, I got it in a little
Make room.
velvet, it's a little velvet bag. I
Make
keep it in. Yeah, just get out of the way. No, but sometimes I say it's amazing when I'll be like, look, no plastic bag, no like container. Like, yes, you can put it on a little plate, but other than that, like no container, no. None of that. And then they're like, okay. And then a different person comes and is working there. I'm like, oh, I haven't told him. Excuse me, no plastic bag. Oh, okay. And then I walk away and I go and pay or whatever. And then just massive plastic bag inside a double plastic bag. Why not throw it in a third just for good counting? Like, what is like? It's insanity. Insanity. All right. After that bit, I think it's a good time to promote my comedy show.
Absolutely.
But this will only take a second.
No.
Don't. You're naughty. All right. So I've now given it a title. The show has a title. Not enough friends to
Yay.
bury a body. So it is the Zoom comedy show coming up September 2nd. We've added tickets, but it's still already half sold out. September 2nd, all via Zoom. And you can grab your tickets at leecamp.simpletix. That's TIX.
Not like the
Not
animal.
the blood-sucking parasite. Simpletix.com, leecamp.simpletix.com. But we've added a second show because people in Britain and Europe and all those places were like, "It's a terrible time for us." So I don't mean they're having a rough time. I mean, they may be having a rough time, but I mean time zones. So the second show will be September 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So it's a reasonable time for London, etc. And both of those are at leecamp.simpletix.com. This is a completely new hour. No one's ever seen it. It hasn't been shown anywhere. And it will be the only place that you can get it. So, and a special guest who I'm not giving away, but I think people
Wow, I'm
will
really
love it.
glad that you said that, because I was going to say
You were going to say who it was.
who your opener was.
I'm glad I said who I'm not
So
telling
you have to like tell people if something's
You
a
knew it
secret.
was a secret.
No, I didn't. You never fucking told me. You were like, so and so is going to be opening, and I'm like, okay, but you never said also. Don't tell anyone. You got that has to be
Why would I go into a Benedict Cumberbatch to tell you not to tell anyone?
because it just sounds more snazzy and fancy if you say it in a British accent.
All right. We're going to wrap up this live stream. We got 17, 18 more minutes over at rumble.com/LeeCamp. That's rumble.com/LeeCamp. It's free to watch over there. Join us over there, and it's going to be awesome.
So what is 1 p.m. In Iran?
Oh my God. For those who don't know this, Iran, it's crazy. Iran is not like on the hour system. Like they have like theirs is a half hour different. How?
So what time is 1 p.m. Eastern?